everybody start taking action. We do a lot of talking about it, but we don't take no action. And there's too many of us not to actually tackle this actual area. So um, like you're saying, we need to do something. And I have spoken to some people about. I've spoken to some people about shooting a documentary. I have a friend that's an actual photographer and a video and a guy that shoot videos, and I've been talking to him about it.
Yeah, I have all that stuff. I have drone. I have a drone. I have a drone. I'm a licensed pilot. I have everything that you could possibly need to do a documentary. Actually, it coming on. I think I'm going for a week up to go crab fishing, and that's going to be my first stab at trying to document that whole thing and then put it together as a documentary, just as practice
Right.
to see, you know what I mean, how I can do it myself, because I'm in contact with a bunch of different producers, movie producers, documentary producers that I've had on my show, and I have people that are coming on my show. I currently have a producer that I've got scheduled who works for a company that's all female. So I think that would be a perfect, because there's a lot. Remember that the conspiracy things that I was talking about in Texas?
Yes.
Most of those people are women that are in there.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, at this point, it really doesn't matter how we get the stories out, just they need to come out. And if they're willing to take it on because it's all women, so be it. It's still exposing the problem. So that's kind of what I've been working on. I've been using the podcast to open the doors and get interviews with people that may be able to help me along in my process, as far as like trying to get exposure. And the nonprofit Lisa is coming along. Everything else has been, I'm just waiting on the status to get approved. So that's another thing that's gonna maybe help. I don't know.
Um, I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. If you need me for anything, don't hesitate to reach out. And
And vice versa too. I mean,
I know, I know.
you know, we all have to be, with the way that social media is going and the way that the algorithms are starting to suppress a lot of stuff. We all need to be banding together as people that have access to a platform and media. You know what I mean? We are our own media, and we have to start becoming like the eight octopus legs of the government and the media that they control and own. We have to start creating our own if we're gonna get any kind of traction doing anything.
I agree. Um, I definitely agree. Definitely agree with that. I'm gonna go ahead and start this, and then we can. I definitely would like to speak to you more about that, but we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
start because I don't want to go over the time period tonight. Um, I have a friend of mine that I actually asked to come on as well. You always have great information. Everybody on here has great information. Um, but what I want to do is, before I start off, I want to say thank you everybody for attending the Growth Hour that is hosted by Breaking Silence, Lisa Riley, Sale with Sippy by Maurice Clifton, and by the Reinvention Center, myself and Lisa Riley, and Mr. Clifton. I first want to start off by saying thanking everybody who has contributed to the Quincy Sanders movement in any form of fashion, whether it be help, prayers, monetary donations, advice, or anything. I would like to thank everybody for that. I would also like to personally thank all the GoFundMe contributors. Um, what I'm going to do is acknowledge each person by their name, and then we'll go from there. I want to thank James Sherrod, Pearlie Harper, the Sanders family, Kim Smith, Lachey Smith, Terry Strong, Lisa Riley, Regina Cecil, Raheem Brooks, Audie Harper, Carrie Hicks, Glenisha Harper, Jamie Thomas, William Hunt, Chauncey Joyner, Eric Saunders, please forgive me, but I can't pronounce this name at all. Um, I know it's Tyjanica Thomas. Please forgive me for messing up your name. Quentin Williams, Sandy Freese, Betty Sanders, Stephanie Harper. I would like to thank all of you all for contributing to the Sanders GoFundMe account. I also want you to know that we have some T-shirts coming in the very near future. We have wristbands that we have for sale at the present. You can go on Lisa Riley. Thank you, Miss Riley. Lisa Riley page, my page, or I believe Mr. Clifton will have it on his page soon if he doesn't have it. Or you can contact either one of us and we can get you some wristbands. They are only $1.50. We do ship them to you wherever you are. I don't know if you'll be able to read it, but it said time for change. And all of it will go toward, it has some breaking chains that you can see. They will go towards Mr. Sanders' legal fees or any other thing that he may need in addition to, in his plight to fight for his freedom. I would like to also say hello to all our guests, a new guest, and thank you for coming. Today, the topic is going to be life after prison. As always, there's going to be different perspectives, different opinions, different ideas. In my view, nothing is wrong. We're just cooperating, trying to come up with the best way to help or assist people that's coming home from prison. Before I get started, I would like to acknowledge Ms. J. Love, allow her to introduce herself, and give you some more information about her movement that she has going, and give you some contact information. I always ask people to support movements, regardless if it's mine, yours, or whatever, because we all look for help. Good evening, Ms. Love.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to be in your space today.
No problem. Glad to have you.
Thank you. So a little bit about myself. My name is J. Love, and I'm advocating for my son, Gerard Haycraft, who is wrongfully convicted of a crime he didn't do. He is presently in the Michigan Department of Corrections. He received 2 to 17 years for unarmed robbery. His first offense, of course, this happened in Detroit, Michigan. He suffers from severe Crohn's disease, and he has to have a 3-hour infusion every month. This all started from a brief description. They was looking for someone that was dark complected, braids, slim built. And on the day that this happened to him, the victim's son was out looking for someone that fit that general description, and Gerard was the first person he saw. In Wayne County, Detroit, Michigan, they have an issue with lying police, and that they have over 70 police officers that cannot testify in court as of right now because they lie so much. And so basically, Gerard, he didn't want to take a plea deal, which is always, the first thing they offer you, regardless of what, it is. He was adamant about not pleading guilty for something he didn't do, even though they told him it would be 1 year, no court costs, or that he can go home. So at the end of the trial, he was found guilty of one of the counts. He had a public defender who was very overworked. Afterwards, after Gerard's incarceration, I had to just get involved so much because of his health care. They lost his medical records. He lost over 40 pounds because he couldn't get the infusions. Just recently, he's been almost a month late in getting his infusion, and he has lost 20 something pounds. The lawyer that's now working on this case have found a lot of evidence with the person saying that it wasn't him, that never showed up in court, phone evidence, a lot of other things that, we're working on still working on this case. He did was able to be paroled, but in Michigan we have truth in sentencing, so he won't be able to come home until January. So right now, he ended up getting COVID while being incarcerated as well. So right now we're just working on, keeping him healthy or trying to make sure he gets the medical needs treatment that he needs until he gets home, and still fight for justice for him. So that's why I created the Justice for Gerard movement. And I'm doing live conversations on Fridays to not only talk about Gerard's case, but other cases in Michigan, Detroit area that are who are wrongfully convicted, and to educate our community about wrongful convictions, and to also allow people to tell their stories, because I think it's so important that we tell these stories. So many people are not telling the story. So it's important to tell the story to get your power back and to educate the community. So that's what I'm doing.
So if anybody wanted to support the Gerard movement or contact you, how can they do that, Miss Love?
Okay, so you can go to, there's a petition, it's on change.org /justice 4 Gerard, GERARD. Sign the petition. There's a Facebook page called the Justice for Gerard movement. And also there is a website, freegerard.com.
Okay, sometime later today, can you send me that in a messenger or either post it on my page so
Okay.
that all my followers can actually see it and support. I encourage everybody that's a follower or a friend of mine to actually go on the petition and sign it. We definitely need to help this gentleman get home. We definitely need to stop this type of tragedies from happening and ruining our families. So please sign and support. I'm not asking that you donate. There on change.org, I believe there is a button that asks you to donate for the cause. Just share. You don't have to donate. Just share.
Thank you.
No problem. Just share. Typically there's a separate GoFundMe page or something that the individual normally have, and it's not through change.org. I'm saying this because I know that there was some confusion with the Quentin Sanders petition. So I wanted to bring that up to let you know, just share. If you don't have funds, please don't allow that from stopping you from actually signing the petitions. Please sign the petition and just share so everybody else can sign it. I ask that once you share it, you send it to all your friends or share it and contact your friends and ask them to sign it. Please support Miss Love and her plight, please.
Thank you.
No problem. Again, today is Life After Prison. I have a guest on here. It's a good friend of mine. We spent some time away at school, and his name is Timothy Cook. You have to unmute yourself, sir. His name is Timothy Cook.
All right, I think I did that.
He's recently released from incarceration. And what I wanted to do was allow him to first give his opinion of what he thinks is instrumental in anyone that's coming home from prison, the things that they would need. Of course, we all will interject and build and come up with some great ideas for individuals who's coming home in the future that may need some things. And we'll go from there. Go ahead, Mr. Cook. How you doing?
I'm good. How y'all doing? You have to excuse me if I'm not using this right. It's my first time on here.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
I guess for me, the most important thing is for people to take advantage of what the prisons or places that you're at actually offer you, which isn't a lot. It's not a lot most of the time, but just little things, even get your birth certificate, your social security card, trying to get an ID. Because if you're somebody who doesn't have any type of support when you get out, depending on the areas that you go to, there's really not a lot for you. Like I live in the state of West Virginia. So until recently, like you couldn't even get food stamps or anything like that to help you until you got on your feet if you had a felony for drugs. So just that little bit of already having your social security card and your birth certificate, so at least you can go out and get your ID, that'll help you just that little bit. But two, you know, networking with the positive people that you do meet while you're incarcerated, so they can show you the ropes when you get out. Because for me personally, my biggest thing is learning how to be content and switch into another lifestyle, because the lifestyle you lived before you went in is completely different from how you got to live if you want to stay out when you do get out.
Do you, I guess my question to you is this here. I have a few questions, but my first question is going to be this. I noticed you're saying you have to switch lifestyles. You know, do you recommend that a person take out the hustle, or do you just, when I say hustle, you know, I hustle a lot of jobs. I may have 3 or 4 jobs. I may have things that I do I have contracts, you know, I actually have a job. I have this podcast. I have the Reinvention Center, you know, and I do a lot of things. I have a lot of hats, you know, so I haven't stopped the hustle. But I think that I try to supplement that with positive, constructive things. Would you agree with doing that, or do you just?
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely, you know, it's the same hustle, but you got to learn how to redirect that energy and putting it into other things and being around the people that help you use those outlets to do it. Because you can definitely have, you know, a great hustle, as you would say, but if you're using it for all negative stuff, you're going to, in the long run, you're going to get negative consequences.
So, what would you say would be transitioning from prison? You're in the street. You have your ID and all that stuff there. What do you think the biggest obstacle for an individual coming home that they will face? Take the time to think about it.
That's it. I heard you say, what do I think the biggest
The
obstacle? You
biggest
frozen out.
obstacle a person may face when they're actually released. What do you think the biggest obstacle they may face that may be a deterrence or something that gets them down when coming home? What do you think the biggest obstacle is? You're kind of freezing up. You're definitely kind of freezing up. Is it you or me? Okay, I'm going to continue going because I think he has froze up. I'm going to say this here that upon my release, I had a kind of a better transition, and it's just one of the reasons that had me start the Reinvention Center. I had
You're breaking up, James.
great family support. You know, unlike a lot of people, I had great family support, so I was able to. Do y'all hear me?
Yeah, you're breaking up.
Can you hear me?
All right.
All right, you go ahead and speak, and let me try to figure out this.
All right.
This
I think we lost one of the things I did when I was incarcerated. I took everything I could from, just knowing that I had to provide a way for me to make, as James said, hustle inside of prison. Because make no mistake, the same things that are on the street are inside of prison. I tell people that all the time, the same drugs they have outside, the same temptation they have. But you got to make a conscious effort to not want to be that person. I never smoked or drink, so I didn't really have that problem going into prison. So the thing was, when I first went in, they were selling cigarettes on the store. Then with the Zimmerman bill, they ended up outlawing them. So that became another mode for guys to hustle. But my hustle came from me taking every class I could take, teaching every class I could teach. And I just read your comment too, Sean. A mentor is good. It's so hard when you first go in. I can say from a medium down is good, but when you get to the penitentiary, everybody is on edge. They're gonna put you with your homeboy. When you come through the gate, they're standing outside the gate when you first come through, and they're directing you to where your homeboys are. You know, whether it's DC, if you know Baltimore, Maryland, you know Maryland, DC, and who else ran together, Jane? But anyway, they put you with your homeboys, so that was kind of odd to me. But I understood it over time. I came to understand that. And if you don't get with somebody whose mindset is the same as yours, because everybody in the penitentiary is trying to survive. So it's kind of hard. A lot of guys, most of the guys in the penitentiary, they're either at the law library, they're at the poker table, or they're on the basketball court. There's not really an in between. And wherever the majority of their homeboys are, that's where they are. So they're not really thinking about you. The education building is so small when you're at the penitentiary because not a lot of people go there because, it was a trap for people. Yeah. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Is it better now? Excuse me. Am I better now?
Yes.
Okay,
you're
great.
A lot better. You're a lot better.
Thank you. I definitely agree with you. However, the question that Mr. Dustin asked was one, Sean asked was one to Mr. Cook about taking a mentor on the street. So Mr. Cook is back, so I'm going to ask him. Unmute yourself, Mr. Cook. Leave yourself unmuted, Mr. Clifton.
Yes,
have you ever considered having a mentor on the street?
Who? You're talking to me, right?
You. Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely, a saying has always stuck with me, the difference between smart and wise. A smart person will learn from his mistakes, but a wise person will learn from somebody else's mistakes. So I definitely try to, take from the people that I respect and I can see, are doing the things that I want to be doing or at where I'm trying to be at, or even just have good information for me.
I think that it's definitely difficult, like you said, to make that transition come from home, and you're there. You're free now, and you have a lot of plans in your head, and you've been coming up or trying to come up with a lot of things that you want to do. Now you're there, and it's time to do it. Unfortunately, the world is not set up the way that you planned it. The world has been moving, but we have stopped, so to speak, when we go to prison. So, we can only plan so much. I'm saying definitely get all the programs, definitely do all the vocational stuff, because that is a plus. But I want a person to be understandable that things are subject to change and your plan may have to change.
Yeah.
Just don't get discouraged with your plan when you come home, and don't be afraid. One of the, things I had to do was swallow my pride and learn how to work things from people that I would normally not ask of people. For example, I didn't know how to work a cell phone, so I had to learn how to work a cell phone. I didn't know how to navigate. Well, I knew how to navigate through the computer, but the internet was not something that we had when we was incarcerated. So I had to have someone teach me how to do that. And you can't be afraid to do that. You have to ask for help. We are here to help one another, build one another up, sharpen each other up. So we have to do that. I would definitely agree with Mr. Dustin that a mentor is good. A lot of people hear the word mentor and they think about something that a child does or whatnot, gets and go from there. But I need people to know that mentors come in many different stages: business mentors, life mentors, relationship mentors. Grab a mentor and go from there. So with that being said, I'm going to move on and I'll come back to you, Mr. Cook. Mr. Clifton, were you finished with your comments?
Yeah, pretty much though. You know what I mean? So, like I was saying, I think we have so many plans when we come home, and that we're traveling at two different speeds. Inside we're traveling at one speed. When we get home, it's moving at a much greater speed than we even think of outside. No matter how much TV you watch or anything that you do, everything is moving so fast. And so much has changed around us. We're introduced to so many new things. But like you say, you can't be afraid to ask for help or assistance because, I'm the type of person, if once I ask somebody to help me, I like to try to figure things out by myself. So I spend a lot of time trying to figure out, because a lot of times people want to do it for you and they don't want to take time. People don't really have time to take time to show you a lot of things. So they want to do it for you and keep moving. You know what I mean? So, you know, a lot of times, people don't want to take time to show you anything. They want to tell you how to get it done, and that's it. If you want to go know the direction somewhere, they're going to tell you, oh, well, put it in your phone. Okay, I don't really know how to use the phone. They'll rather take it and do it for you and then keep moving and let you figure it out later on, but not on their watch. But, you know, it's just welcome home, man. Good to see you home.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Clifton. What do you say your biggest obstacle was, or the biggest problem that you may have encountered upon your release? I know you was gone 23 years and you coming home. What would you say the biggest thing that guys need to look out for when they're coming home?
Well, the first thing I would tell people before they come home is, like he said, get your birth certificate, get your social security card, and get everything that you need. And if you had a driver's license before you came to prison, man, make sure, write to people and see if you have any tickets or anything that's going to hinder you from getting your driver's license. It took me 6 months to get my driver's license. After I took care of everything, I thought I had it taken care of. I go back, it was something else. So it took me 6 months just to be able to get my driver's license. And the other thing that was really shocking to me was the self-checkouts. Man, I was literally terrified of the self-checkouts. Like, for real, you know what I mean? Just like, Jay, I'm talking about, like, literally terrified. Nope. I'm going through the line. I'm gonna let her check my stuff up. You know what I mean? You know, just because it's a real thing. It's a real thing, you know, just because, you know, it's automated and everything. And like you say, you don't really have, and I was blessed that I could kind of keep up with technology because I worked in the business office and we had limited that. We didn't have access to the internet, but we had access to the computers and how everything worked, but there was no touch screen. You know, they kind of like switched over inside. I think we had a couple of things in Votech at Benningsville that were touch screens and we had to go through. But that's the biggest thing, man. I was kind of like terrified of that. Okay, all right, I'm terrified of, you know, how people were stealing identity. So many people in the feds for identity theft, and I had that fear too of people stealing your identity when you're standing there to check out, and, you know, people I don't know, man. It was just an unhidden, just unseen fear that I had of the self checkout. I still don't like it. I go through them sometimes when the lines are crowded, but I'd rather wait in the line and let them check it out. I still don't. It's like Friday the 13th for me, you know, so that's the biggest thing. And don't everybody be laughing. I see everybody laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They gonna start forcing you to go through them check lines by yourself from now on. I'm glad
Oh, no.
boss is on the. Yeah, I'm glad.
Oh, yeah.
Let me say, one of the things that the Reinvention Center office offers, and please reach out to anyone that's on the panel, myself, Lisa, or Maurice, if you need it to happen, is that we, when I came home, I had, like I said, great family support, so I was able to send my resume out of prison before I came home, because we all know in the feds when you're coming home, when your actual date is. So if you can get your resume to a family member somewhere before 60 days to 45 days before you come home and allow them to circulate it to different staffing agencies, you can possibly line up a job. I done that when I came home. I was working within 5 days of being home. I had 2 days I had to be what we call in the black at the halfway house, meaning I couldn't leave for any purposes. But after that, you know, I went straight to the staffing agencies that I had sent my resume to, and they were waiting on me and got me a job. I disliked it, but I did have a job. I did have an income. So, you know, I encourage people, if, you know, contact the reinventioncenter.org, or go there and have the contact information on there, or contact Stippy or Maurice Clifton or Lisa Riley. And if you send your resume, tell us what area you in. We will take the time out to look at some staffing agencies in your area and forward your resume to them, get you a contact person. So when you actually come home, or before you come home, you can write them a letter, or, you know, I'm gonna say write a letter, because, you know, or try to get an email for you, because we do understand the system, and go from there. Or we can play liaison for you as far as getting you employment. I think coming out right into employment is important. That's one of the things. But in order to get employment, one of the things that Maurice and Timothy, Mr. Cook said, is true. You have to have identification. When you go to the halfway house or you get out, that's the first thing they're going to require that you get before you can even go look for a job or anything. So I would encourage people to again, contact the Reinvention Center and ask for the vital statistics office in your area. You should be getting or your family members should be getting their Social Security card through their team. That every team requires to fill out a Social Security application, and they get the Social Security card and they're able to put it in their file. If you can't get that, contact one of us. We'll write to the Social Security office for you and get you the application. You can send it back, and when they send you the card, your team will snatch it, or you can get it and give it to your team to put in your file. So when you get released, you can get that. Those documents are very vital for you upon your release. You cannot do nothing with that, without that. So please have your family members get those documents, and if they need assistance in addresses, or obtaining those, to reach out to the Reinvention Center, and we will help you. Once I got a job, my next flight was to give me a bank account, which is relatively easy, but if you need help in that or whatever the case, once you're out, and that is the service that the Reinvention Center offers as well. We try to help you transition back into society on a smooth level, smooth way of doing it, because it's difficult coming from a world where you kind of stop living and then come back into society. So by us doing it, as Mr. Cook said, we can give you the route that you need to take in order to make your transition smoother. So, but as again, and I hate to, I'm not gonna say I hate, but I have to continue to piggyback off of these gentlemen. You have to do what you have to do inside. You have to have some marketable skills. You have to have something that you can come home to and actually use. If not, then you what do you expect? Do you expect somebody to give you a job and you're not qualified? Let's be realistic. So spend some time inside doing what you have to do. With that, I want to move on to Mr. Dustin to hear what he may have to add to this actual topic here. How you doing, Mr. Dustin?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for letting me talk. Shh, baby, I'm on the phone.
Give him a microphone.
Yeah, well, she's already trying to get on that. So I think what I found when I got out that was the most that was the hardest for me is while I was there, even though I was doing things that were healthy for me, like working out and exercising and everything else, I never dealt with my behavior. I never dealt with the criminality of my behavior. I never dealt with the like, what's the word that I'm looking for? I never dealt with, I guess the best way that I could put it is when I went in, I was a boy. Even though I was 35, I was still, because of drug use and other things and lack of discipline, lack of behavioral consequences and stuff like that. Like I was still a kid in a lot of ways. And the way that I acted was very immature. The way I dealt with relationships with the opposite sex was very immature, was just basically what I had seen growing up. And that was not a very good example for sure. And so the behavioral part of that is what was lacking in my incarceration. So when I got out, I suffered from PTSD. It was a shock when I got out. I didn't know how to cope with being in an environment that wasn't segregated. So it was difficult for me because you're taught when you're in there to, you're not to like a certain group or not to like this or not to like that. And that's really not who I was, but it was who I had to become when I was in there for whatever reason, you know what I mean? And so when I got out, that was part of the hardest part, was for me to change the behavior. And it really didn't even start happening. I got out in 2006. It didn't start happening until I would say 2017. And that was after a bunch of, you know what I mean? It was failed relationships, a lot of I don't know. I guess I just I stopped looking to everybody else for why I was having issues and not progressing in the way that I wanted to, and started looking at myself and what part I played in all of it. So I would say for me, the hardest part was not addressing the behavioral issues. And that's why I kind of want to start the process of reentry from when somebody first steps into incarceration, and being a part of a program, whether you get a hold of it through the prison ministries or whatever, that kind of addresses that, and puts you with somebody who has a similar background to you, that you can talk about stuff like that you could work through, whatever issues they may have, or at least it to be an option, because if there was something like that in there for me where I could have, had, I don't know, maybe some sort of a curriculum sent in through, 3 pages a week or every 2 weeks, whatever it is, the questions that I could have answered about my behavior and learning more about why I did the things that I did, and why I am the way that I am. As I'm going through and doing that, that would be getting somebody ready to exit. You know what I mean? To be able to learn that kind of stuff, as well as, there's other things, but I think hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, it does. I want to ask you this though, Mr. Dustin. I had never looked at it from that perspective, but I realized that a lot of people don't address their inner self. They may polish up the outside man, but they never go in the root and deal with the inside man. And because of that, they're coming home and they're looking at the outside man and they said, hey, I prepared myself for many years to come home, but not one time have they dealt with the enemy. So my question to you would be, what would you recommend, or what would you say that a person can do on the inside as well as the outside to address that enemy?
Start by being honest with yourself. Take an inventory of your life, and look at the relationships that you've had, and see where, if you've got a lot of failed relationships, whether it's with the opposite sex or with with men or whatever. A lot of it is, look, I think I said this before, and I think that this is probably the root of well, not all, but I would say, I would venture to say 80% of our problems and public safety issues come from untreated trauma. And untreated trauma, you see it. A lot of the problems that we have in society is just because of an untreated traumatic thing that happened to somebody when they were younger and they never dealt with it. So, that should be number one on a public safety concern. But I don't know. I think I glossed over your question. What? Could you repeat it? Sorry.
I'm asking you, what do you think the person can do in order to deal with that inner man on the inside as well as the outside? Because I see a lot of people that come out and they have these inner man issues, but I don't think that they have first, like you said, to accept the responsibility and being honest with themselves and say, hey, I have a problem. Let me address this problem. It starts there. But what do you think they can do in the inside after they admit that they have a problem? What steps can they take in order to address their inner man?
Read personal development stuff. Read, if you have somebody that can send in books, or if you see somebody that has books that talk about, how to address, that inner trauma that you're dealing with, or, a lot of times when you're on the inside, you can't talk to anybody about that kind of stuff because you would be considered weak. Unless it's your bunkie, then it's a little bit different. But but even then, you could only be so honest for fear of whatever could be used against you. So I would say just books, read stuff that's going to help you address some of your behaviors. And then when you get out, when you get out, listen to podcasts. Try to get podcasts that if you're struggling with something, like maybe you're not good with money, listen to a financial podcast. You know, if you have, issues with, the opposite sex and how you treat them, because that's how I did. Listen to podcasts about that and figure out, different things. Are you a narcissist? A lot of criminals have narcissistic traits. Learn about narcissism and see if that applies to you. For me, it was just I was looking everywhere to trying to figure out why I was doing what I was doing, and still at times would revert back to the old behavior because it was comfortable. The new behavior isn't comfortable, and reverting back to what we're comfortable with is always what the humans as a species we always go to, and it's just learning how to make new habits, be around new kind of people that don't subscribe to the kind of stuff that you did before. For me, I got involved in slow pitch softball, which, I mean, I'm sure there were drugs there, but I didn't know anybody. So it's not like I'm going to go up and say, hey, can I get some meth? You know what I mean? It's somebody I didn't know. So it was teaching me how to be around a new group of people, and it just took me out of that element, and it taught me how to have to function within a new element. And then within that, I started, goals started becoming important, and building self-esteem started after that. So, I mean, there's a lot, man. I mean, incarceration is not a solution, in my opinion, because a lot of the problems that we come in so broken and so traumatized from whatever life has dealt us up to that point, that just sticking us in a cell with a bunch of other people that have untreated traumas too, it's just a terrible recipe.
I definitely agree with you. I've encountered and came across a lot of people that have interpersonal issues, and it's hard to get them to understand that they need to address those issues. I'm trying to find a way, and I'm looking for a way to be able to communicate that. Or what do you suggest is the best way to attempt to communicate that to an individual that doesn't see themselves as having addressed those inner issues?
All you can do is plant seeds. That's really all you can do. If they're not willing to see what you're putting out there, you can't force somebody to see the picture that you're trying to paint. You plant seeds, and at some point they either, like myself, I just got tired of the person that I was and how I was treating people, and it's just the lack of respect I had for others, and it wasn't getting me anywhere. So I had no choice but to look back and see what's the problem. I'm the common denominator in every issue that I've had, so it's got to be me. So I don't know. That's a tough one, James.
I know a person that's dealing with somewhat like that, and I'm trying to get them advice on the best way to do that. I encounter it all the time, so that's why I say that it's frustrating. I know it gets frustrating, so I would agree, dropping the seed thing and continue to move on. It's one of the greatest ways of doing that. Eventually when they come around, keep yourself available. So if they do come around and they want some help, that they can reach out to you and go from there. Miss Lisa has her hand up. I'm going to let her respond. Go ahead, Miss Lisa. Thanks, John. I can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself, Miss Lisa. You have to unmute
I'm sorry.
yourself.
Here I am. Sorry. I agree with all of you. I think all of you are correct. I definitely agree that there's loads of trauma when anyone goes into the prison system. And I truly believe in counseling for sure. I know for myself, when I was incarcerated in the women's prison, coming home, a lot of times I always say there's really no difference, is what I want to say, between the men and the women. But as a mom, when I went to prison, my children were young. So now I'm coming home for prison, and I have to figure out, I went to prison because I used to traffic drugs to support my family. So now I have to come home, and I can't do that no more, because the last thing I want to do is go back to prison. So now I have to figure out, how am I going to take care of my children? How am I going to do this? So it's a lot to do. And inside the women's prison, they offer basic classes. They don't offer too much as far as work goes. It's a lot of crafts. It's things that, you're really not going to apply too much in your life, honestly. But, I think that you have to grab hold of something. I had to decide that, do I want my children to grow up and see me as their mom going in and out of the prison system, or do I want them to grow up and see me as their mother? And now here I am, my children are grown, and I got grandchildren. So I had to really dig deep and grab hold of something, because I'm going to tell you guys, honestly, the honest truth, when I came home from prison, the biggest challenge for me, again, is you don't have that financial means. You don't have that income you did have. And going from something to absolutely nothing is tough, especially when you have children dependent on you. So I think all of you are totally correct. But a lot of people don't have anyone, they don't have support systems. So as far as reaching out and getting a mentor, or get on these groups, come to these lives, connect with people, I really think that's the way to go. I truly do, because you're going to need someone. You really are. You really are. And I agree with you, Sean, that the trauma inside the women's prison is unbelievable. Unbelievable. But you just got to push through and get over that and work that out within yourself. You have to decide, who do you really want to be? What is it that you really want to do in your life? It's, and I know I may make that sound so easy, but it really is not easy. It's definitely not easy.
Thank you. Anytime you're making a change is not easy, because change is uncomfortable. You're going into an area that you haven't ventured into before. It's going to require you to deal with people, the type of people that you haven't dealt with before. But if you truly want that change, then you will have no problem doing that. Actually looking for people that like-minded or are in the area that you want to get to. I assure you, when you do right, people will see it and try to help you in doing it right. Um, so as we have been pointing out, continue to look for mentors, whether it be through these different programs, or whatever. A family member, a friend. Sometimes it may be someone from the church. You never know who that mentor may be. So I would encourage a person to do that. Definitely, you have to deal. As I think the first part of this equation is what Mr. Dustin has said. You have to be honest with yourself, do a self-evaluation, to be honest with yourself about what issues that you truly have, and then you need to start taking all those checklists and going to do different things. I think that a lot of people think that counseling or going to see a psychiatrist and all that's taboo. We're taught that, or we have the belief that going to see that makes you crazy, or make people look at you in a different light. If you have an issue, or you feel like you have an issue and you want to really change, I wouldn't care, who I got to go see. I want to make that change. So I'm definitely going to see whoever I feel like can help me make that transition. So please do that. I want to allow Miss Freese. How you doing, Miss Freese, to actually speak and get her input on um, today's topic. And I would like for her to introduce herself and her organization, and give some information on what she does.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to be with you guys tonight.
Thank you.
Maurice, I have to say, when those self-checkouts first came out, I could not stand those things. And, you know, I was the same way, and it's all new to you. So of course you know, it's going to be the same for you, but yeah, you're not the only one. That's why I chuckled, because, you know, they're not fun. But I'm Sandy Freese. I have a Facebook group called Factually Innocent. And it's growing daily, and it's good. We have a lot of good people as a part of that group. I have never been incarcerated. I am an advocate. I love what I do. I feel very passionate about what I do. I have personal reasons for doing my advocacy work. But I would love to just have one moment to tell you, I was reached out to yesterday by a friend of mine, and she said, please look at my Facebook page. And I did. And what I found was a video from a young man who is advocating for his best childhood friend. They're 30 years old now. She has had 2 prior convictions for drugs, and she was released 2.5 years ago and has been waiting for her sentence since then. Why it took so long for her to be sentenced, I do not understand. She said she did not want a jury trial. She was going to let the judge make the decision. Okay, so while she was out, this woman totally transformed her life. And we're talking about reentry. She cut ties. She moved to a different town. She began to work with the Salvation Army, a place called Oxford House, a place called Centerstone, really making a difference. She has been completely clean for 3 years. She is engaged, doing everything right, Day before yesterday, she received her sentence, 16 years, after completely transforming her life. So my heart is just absolutely breaking for her and her 2-month-old baby and her fiance. So I ask all of you, her name is Erica Riley. And she is incarcerated less than 30 minutes from where I live. I have been in contact with her fiance and her best friend. Everyone is pulling together. I do have change.org on my Facebook group, Factually Innocent. I would very much appreciate your signatures on that. It's been up only for 2 days, and there are already over 1,000 signatures. I am going to be contacting all the places that she has been volunteering and working so hard for. And I have 10 letters already coming to me from personal individuals that she has helped. So, you know, she's so valuable. Her life on the outside means so much to other people that she's been trying to help. So I guess I'm asking all of you to just keep her in your thoughts and wish her the best.
Thank you. Please post the link on here as well as my page so I can share. Miss Love, I have just shared the post that you put on my Facebook. I ask again that everybody go on it and actually sign the petitions and support these movements. Without, we have to help each other. We are there, strength in numbers. I also would like to acknowledge Miss Shayna Bowe. Shayna, please forgive me for your name. I'm gonna call you Miss Bowe. She gave a comment in that we can see, but the viewers on Facebook can't see. So I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to ask that you please expound on it, because it's one that I truly think that people need to hear. The comment is change is often associated with a sort of death of self. Would you mind expounding on that, Miss Bo?
Yeah, and thanks
Yes,
for, thanks. Oop. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thanks for letting me join late again, and hi, everybody. I was on a different call that took longer than expected, but change is often a sort of death of self. I mean, I think in my own experience and just looking at how other people that are in a position where change would be better for them, losing that part of themselves is like a sort of death. I know, like relationships. Why do people hang on to toxic relationships for so long, knowing that they're awful, knowing that they're destroying them? Losing that relationship is like losing a sense of oneself, and it's scary. It's terrifying, or can be, until until one is in a position where you're truly ready to face that fear of losing yourself, losing that aspect of yourself to get to a new level of wholeness. It's like people don't see that on the other side. At least I know I didn't, and I've never been to jail or prison except for work. I just observed that in my own self when faced with a difficult challenge. I just see that mirrored in other people. Just my perspective.
Thank you for your comment. If you don't mind, can you actually give us more information on the mastermind group and how it is that people can actually attend the Zooms? Because I know you offer Zoom on Wednesday nights, I believe, and on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Do you mind providing that information?
Sure. So I'm an investigator at the Federal Defender's Office in Jacksonville, Florida. I know that the best work that I do is interacting with the clients and aiding them in whatever change I can by the words that I share, by the conversations we have, by linking them to resources, whatever I'm able to do. I want more. I want so much more. I love to see people change and become their best self. And I'm I want more. So I'm sitting here in my home and thinking, how can I make the world's best reentry project ever happen? I need to connect with people. So I started the mastermind, and it's just bringing together people that are passionate about reentry, passionate about what we can do. What are the solutions? You know, what can we start doing? How can we grow together? If everybody, there's all these niche organizations out there, some that are really huge and comprehensive, but how can we all come together and make one another stronger? That's what the Reentry Projects Mastermind is all about. Please join us. It's usually on Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can join our Facebook group page, Reentry Mastermind, Reentry Projects Mastermind group on Facebook. And I usually put the links for the Zooms up there. I try to keep my personal profile a little bit lower key because of the type of work I do. I'm maybe not as boisterous about my passion for reentry on that page. I'll just say it here. I don't know how the Federal Defender's Office will view it as perhaps as a conflict. I'm just putting that out there. But it's not going to stop me. I'll find a way. In any case, please join the group. Please join the discussion. Please join in offering solutions. This Wednesday, we'll be having, I think it's fairly new, so I'm just going to set it up as once a week, hold the mastermind during the week. You can join in that way. And it's just for people that have a difficult time making it on Saturdays. So thank you. I'll be quiet.
Thank you. For the ones that's on here, do you mind putting it in the chat, the actual group, so they can actually see them? Sure. And invite it, find a way of actually contacting me. Once in the future, once you post it and I receive it, what I'm going to do is post it on my page for anybody that would like, all the links for anybody that would like to join the
Sure.
group. I watched the last one and it was very informative. I would encourage everyone to definitely tune in, and go from there and interact if possible. With that being said, thanks, Miss Bo, for everything that you're doing, and continue to do what you're doing, Mr. Parks, my trusty friend, Mr. Parks. Man, I always love to see you, man. How you doing today? You gotta unmute yourself. You have to unmute yourself, sir. You have to unmute yourself.
All right. Hey, I said I'm well. I apologize for getting on late. Yeah, I'm well, and this is right up my alley. When I saw what you were talking about, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I missed this. But yeah, I'm well. I'm eager. Hopefully, you'll show my talk tonight because it's right on point. Like it's perfectly on point.
How about you giving us more information about it? Because I know that you actually do speaking engagements for reentry.
Yeah.
Please tell for new viewers, please tell them what it is that you actually do. Give them some information about this. How can they contact you to book you for speaking engagements, or just contact you if they need a mentor? Please provide them with the information.
I will. Yeah. Of course, anybody who doesn't know, I'm actually in my 5th year of reentry right now. I've become a public speaker since I came home. I was formerly a Toastmaster. I'm currently a Dudley Eagle Speakers Bureau founder and member. So I'm entrenched in this battle for awareness, making people aware of what's going on with the downside of reentry. They say be the change you want to see. So I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to do everything I can. I feel like once a lot of people come home, and when they get ahead, they get in a position that is no longer what they were used to. They forget about the people who were still in that position. So I'm about going back. Go back and get those you left behind, or do what you can to help those people you left behind. Like I'm not where I want to be, but I'm straight. I'm good, and I want to get better. But I will never forget who I left behind. I will never forget the people who are still in the fight. So I was recently asked to do a TED Talk, and TEDx. TEDx is a subsidiary of TED Talk. It's like regional. TEDx is just like in different states. TED Talks are international. But anyway, I did a TEDx recently, and it's on this topic. It's a 16-minute talk. I would love for you guys to see it. It's on YouTube, but I would really like to see it now if James sees fit, and then we could talk about it. Like when I say it will only stimulate our conversation now, because what I'm talking about in my TED Talk is directly related to what we have going on tonight, ironically. And that's why I'm just sitting here. My mind is blown because a lot of the things we're saying, especially Miss Bo, like it's just like right on point. It's right on point with
Well, unfortunately, time restraints would not allow me to do that. But with this, what I will do, we can do a part 2 of this next week, and we'll start off by showing your actual YouTube, your video that you would like to show, and then we can go more into it. And you can narrate if you wish, that I ask you to, because it's your video, and then you can go from there. Because I only intended to be on here another 5, no more than 10 minutes. But
am I that late?
It's 9 something, brother.
Wow.
And glad to see you. We glad to see you, though. We always love you, brother. There's
yeah,
no question about it.
I'm real late.
And it's partially my fault because I didn't send it through your email. I just posted it on Facebook, and you and another gentleman was unable to come, Mr. Reese. And I think that he would have been a great addition because he owns a graphic designer business, and that's the gentleman that helps us do all our flyers, do all our business cards, do our T-shirts for any raffles or any fundraisings and stuff that he does. And he has very, 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 very competitive prices. I think that he does it really for these type of platforms. He give a different price than he would give a way different price than he would give an individual that's coming to buy a shirt. So he does work with nonprofits and stuff like that. I can't give you a price he gave me, but I can tell you that he will be very fair in what he does, and you will be happy with what he said. So we will pick that up next week. We will pick this topic back up next week, and we will show you a video. I'm going to call you before then so we can get together on linking everything up, possibly do a trial run so we can make sure that we actually get a chance to see it and everything and get it on with no problem. But I've seen it. I've had the luxury of seeing it, and I want to tell you guys that y'all are in for a treat when you actually see it. I also wanted you to know that Mr. Clifton, he's back. He did some Toastmasters work, and I'm looking to do some as well. I think that you two can cooperate on the other areas that you are traveling in, and he may be interested in that as well because we are, and Mr. Cook, I hope you're listening. Toastmasters, Google that and try to find the nearest one for you, closest to you. Please explain what Toastmasters is, Mr. Parks, and how it will benefit him because he wants to go and speak to younger adults at different juvenile facilities and stuff like that. There, can you please explain to him what Toastmasters is and how it will be beneficial to him?
Toastmasters is an international speaking organization. I had the privilege of being a part of it when I was in Pollock, Louisiana, and it helps to make you a more confident communicator. So communication is key in survival in the United States. Anywhere you have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to get your point across. And the better you are, the more skilled you are at, the more receptive people are of you when you're delivering a message. If you go into a boardroom, a job interview, what have you, and you need to get your point across, they ask you a specific question, you need to be able to tell them what it is. So Toastmasters, it like I said, it's an international speaking organization. They actually tweak your speaking. You learn to take out certain what they call crutch phases, crutch words, like people who say, you know what I'm saying, or you know what I mean, and they say the same thing after every sentence. They have something they say. So Toastmasters helps you to get that bad behavior out of your speaking patterns. It's probably the best thing that happened to me while I was in, like I said, I was at Pollock at the time, and Pollock was trying to be a miniature Beaumont, and it was terrible. So it was like an escape. And you're surrounded by individuals from different walks of life. Although I participated inside, I also got with a group when I came home. So you're with scientists, doctors, lawyers, different people from different walks of life who have issues communicating, and they get with Toastmasters to help them become better communicators. And you already know, well, if you don't know, public speaking is the #1 fear on the planet. They have done a poll, public speaking. More people are afraid of public speaking than they are afraid of death. So they would rather die than go on a podium. So when you face your fears, you overcome them, you conquer them. And a lot of people are afraid, scared to death to get in front of an audience and speak. So Toastmasters helps to prepare you for that.
Would you like to add anything to that, Mr. Clifton?
It also has one thing about Toastmasters. It also has a leadership track, and it's not just for public speaking to teach you how to conduct seminars and do leadership training too. And the thing about it, it takes you. It has level to where it takes you up and it grades you up on your speaking, like advanced leadership or ALC bronze, ALC silver, and ALC gold. But I know, but it puts you, like Mr. Park said, it puts you in a ring with other people, like-minded people, who are going to grade you and give you their honest opinion. They're not there to down you or degrade you. They're there to make you better and to how to lose those filler words and the long pauses. It tells you to take your time, but the biggest thing for me, it was keeping you within that time constraint. Whether it's starting a meeting, whether it's starting a seminar, or whether it's starting and ending the speech, it keeps you within that time constraint. A lot of people have a hard time putting their speech within a 7-minute, 10 minutes, or a 15-minute, speech. And also has the opportunity for you to enter a speech contest. So for me, it was helpful because I like to do poetry. And so you have to always be mindful of the time that you have or whenever you get into those speaking groups. But what it does is just, it helps eliminate your fear by constantly putting you in front of an audience. And that's the biggest thing. I think repetition eases the fear. You know, but a good speaker always told me, though, that if you're not nervous when you get in front of a crowd, then something is wrong. If you don't have butterflies every time you get in front of a crowd, then something is wrong. But that means that you're too confident for yourself. It's a nervous energy that you can use to channel into the crowd. So, you know, but I love Toastmasters, you know, so I was a part of 2 Toastmasters groups, one in Beaumont and one in Yazoo.
Unfortunately, it came to Yazoo after I left. I'm taking it, but I want everyone to know that I am going to get into one of these programs. I'm going to look into it and actually get involved in it. I've heard my co-defendant, one of my co-defendants who's still incarcerated, and he's at FCI McDowell, was the one who I first heard about Toastmasters from. So I'm going to definitely do it. Mr. Cook, I would like to come up with some type of challenge with you for you to do it. We do it together. We can corroborate on it, talk about it later on, and everything. I think that that it's always good to do what we do so we can, share information and help each other get along in our path of journey. What I'm going to do is, again, I want to thank everybody for coming. Mr. Parks, I will get with you. We will watch your YouTube video next week. And I definitely need to get with you because I'm not as computer savvy as others. I think Miss Love is the guru with the computer, but she's one of the best I've seen, but I will get with it and make sure that we can see it and then we can go from there. It brings a different aspect of reentry. And I think, again, it's a treat for y'all to see. With that being said, what we're going to do is wrap this up tonight, and I look forward to seeing y'all next week. Thank everybody for coming. And please, again, support the movement for Gerard, support the movement for the young lady Ms. Freese spoke about, and any other movements. I have posted it on my actual page. So if you wasn't able to get the information by this, go on my page, and it definitely has the information on there. So I definitely appreciate everybody that come, whether you come late or not. Support is support. Whether it's 1 minute or 10 minutes or 1 hour. Definitely. So with that being said, everybody have a good night, and I look forward to seeing everybody next week. Bye.